Like most 5-on-5 hero shooter games, Fragpunk can be overwhelming when you first dive into its colorful cast of characters and maps. I am going to ask for assistance to try turn me into a Master Frag Punk player. Is this even possible for someone who has never played the game? Can AI really help me? Let's find out. Hey AI, please can you help me become a master at Fragpunk? Please keep in mind that I am a beginner.
Sure thing. Watch your corners. Similarly to other hero shooters like Valorant, it's very easy to get eliminated quickly in Fragpunk, especially if you're playing against snipers. Plus, the maps are relatively compact, meaning you're going to run into your enemies pretty quickly. So, when it comes to traversal, make sure you're careful about poking your head around corners. Never go barging ahead before you check your blind spots to see where enemies might be coming from. If you have any reconnaissance abilities as well, you'll want to use those first before moving forward. The minimap is your friend. So many games have minimaps these days that it's almost easy to take it for granted. However, the minimap in Fragpunk is something you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on, especially early on. Map layouts are complex, with multiple paths to each defense area. The minimap not only lays these out nicely, but has other important info as well. When your allies engage in combat, an enemy's location will briefly flash on the minimap, as well as when your allies use recon abilities that expose other players' abilities. This means, even if you're far away from the action, you can use the minimap to cut enemies off before they have a chance to escape. Elims are more important. Yes, planting or defusing the converter is important. However, at the end of the day, you get a victory just for eliminating the other team. This tip is especially important if you're on attack. Obviously, you're going to want to try to plant the converter, but if the other team all falls anyway, you still win the round. Diffusion and planting should be done last. A lot of the time in Fragpunk, you might find yourself trying to defuse or plant a converter on a point, only to be interrupted by an enemy killing you. Because elims are so quick and gunplay is key, you're not going to want to try to plant or defuse the converter until you're sure you're in the clear. If you even happen to suspect that another enemy is nearby, don't try to plant or defuse. You're going to make yourself incredibly vulnerable, as both of these actions take time. At the very least, don't do this alone. Make sure you have cover. Communicate on shard cards. The shard card system is the most unique mechanic in Fragpunk, and you're going to need to master it to succeed. But since Fragpunk is, of course, a team game, you're going to want to strategize with your teammates to get ahead. Fragpunk has an in-game communication system where you can essentially upvote or downvote the cards you want if you're not in comms. Ultimately, you need to avoid wasting points on different cards than your teammates, therefore heading into the match with no advantages. Communicate and work together to unlock specific cards that you want. Watch out for shard card counters. At the start of each match, you can see not only your own team's options for shard cards, but also the enemy team's. Sometimes, different shard cards can counter one another, rendering the ones you've equipped for the round virtually useless. Before you spend all of your resources purchasing one shard card for the team, ensure there's no hard counter that'll render the ability unusable. Conversely, you can also strategize with your team to pick cards that might counter the other team to even the playing field. Healing is scarce. Because rounds in Fragpunk are meant to be quick, there just aren't that many ways to heal yourself in each individual round. Some Lancers have healing abilities, but they're few and far between. There are also shard cards that can boost health, but these are also rare. While it's important to play with your team and get the drop on others, if you're low on health, you're going to want to adjust your strategy to play more defensively. The worst thing that can happen is becoming an early out and leaving your team hung out to dry. Resources are limited. This next tip is important as it's not explicitly stated during the tutorial phase of Fragpunk. Your Lancer's abilities are limited. You can't spam abilities, and there aren't necessarily cooldowns. But each round, you'll only have a certain number of uses of each of your key abilities. Restraint is key to winning rounds in Fragpunk. While you may want to go in guns a-blazing, it's also important to remember that you don't want to be left with no ace up your sleeve. Of course, don't hoard your abilities either, as there's not necessarily a reward for being stingy if you lose. Don't be a hero. Because every map has 2 defense points that you must either attack or defend, you're going to likely need to split up your 5-person team. Of course, this means one side might be going into an uneven matchup, especially if all 5 members of the enemy team go for the first point. But the point remains. Stick together when possible. The worst thing you can do is go on a solo quest all on your own, leaving yourself as an easy target. Of course, you also don't want to leave a defense point exposed. Stick together with at least one other teammate and support one another. Play aggressive. As mentioned previously, rounds are short and sweet in Fragpunk. Plus, there's a timer, limiting matches overall. While you're going to want to make sure you're not solo running the other team, there's also no point in waiting until the very last second to make moves. You only have a limited amount of time to eliminate the other team, or plant defuse converters. So, when spawn barriers drop, make a quick plan, stick to it, and go for it. If you're playing with a more experienced teammate, follow their lead as well. Ultimately, the pace of the game is so brisk that you'll have plenty of chances to try things, fail, and adjust strategy, so don't overthink it.
Thank you so much, AI. I am going to apply all that you taught me. I am now going to try win at least one game. I am going to start with completing the tutorial and playing some team deathmatch games.
You did great. 57. 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐬's Vengeance. It's an area of effect attack. Just aim at the boss and fire. Fun. Oh, they're trying to dodge. I bet you get them anyway. Here is the weapon list. Feel free to choose your favorite weapons. If you're not sure, try out an assault rifle, or clicking the Lancer slot allows you to return to the Lancer interface if you've selected your Lancer and your... Okay, now let's try out some combat. Great.
I am going to play a normal game. I am quite surprised how well I coped in that game. I am now going to try win a game of free-for-all. This will be tough, but let's try get into the top 3.
In the lead.
I am still very proud of my progress no matter what the haters say. I am going to keep on practicing to improve little by little each day. Thanks for being part of the community. We love hearing your thoughts in the comments, so let us know what you think. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to never miss out on more insane AI challenges.